What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV back here for the last match review of the season. Tottenham 4, Leeds 1 at Ellen Road, which sealed Leeds' fate back down to the Championship. But it was a good game of football, to be fair. I thought Spurs obviously started well, scoring within the second minute of the game, and that was probably Leeds' game plan straight out the window right off the bat, to be honest. 2 minutes in, Porro latches onto a ball from Emerson over the top, who pulls it back to Sonny. Sonny feeds in Kane, and Kane with a really nice disguised finish. He disguised it like he was going to go to the right, but went to the left. We've seen that from Harry Kane before, and it was 1-0, and it just seemed so easy, that goal, didn't it?
Yeah, literally right from the start. And I think Leeds barely touched the ball before they actually scored as well within 2 minutes. And it was a very quick start from Spurs. Really nice incisive ball by Emerson. Porro doing well to fight for that ball, cut inside, pass it to Son. He lays off for Kane. And it was a very nice disguised finish, as you say, right in wrong foot's Robles. And Spurs are 1-up. And as you say, Leeds started the game with a uncharacteristic back five, which they haven't played much this season, and back five and like a four in the middle as well with just one striker. So they definitely set up at the start anyway to just contain Tottenham, make sure they're not conceding any easy goals, and then try and make use of mistakes. As you said, the game plan was out the window within the first minute, and you saw there was a change in Leeds pretty much immediately. Yeah,
and I think Spurs, for the majority of the first half, were just happy to let Leeds have the ball and come at us. And we defended really well for the most part. The only real opening which I remember Leeds having was that really nice Rodrigo ball from deep over the top, and Robin Koch was there to header it, but it went wide. Probably should have done better. But I thought for the most part, like, Leeds were coming at us, not really troubling us whatsoever, and Spurs were kind of trying to pick them off and attack on the counter-attack, and we had loads of different openings on the counter-attack. Heung-min Son was looking sharp, he was getting in really good positions, but Harry Kane and Kulusevski just couldn't find him.
Yeah, it wasn't even about like difficulty of the pass as well. It was just about lack of care, especially in Kulusevski's. When we talk about Kulusevski, he had a chance. It was pretty much a 2-on-1 to him and Son on a counter attack, and it was an easy pass to place on in, and he just couldn't make it. Just undercooked it, and it was really unlike Kulusevski. Harry Kane, a couple of occasions as well, was looking for Heung-min Son, and there was one occasion when we did find Heung-min Son, but his touch let him down, and the chance was gone. On the other hand, Leeds were peppering Spurs. Spurs kind of did revert in that first half to a bit of a deeper block, trying to counter-attack. We were getting peppered by Leeds, but without any real chances. Christensen had a chance of a set piece. They had a lot of corners. They had 7 corners in that first half, Leeds. So they were really trying to ask questions of our defence. And to be fair to our defence, we did stand strong. And it was a bit of a fast pace came at the beginning, but it did slow down to Leeds having possession. They had a bit more possession in the first half. They had 9 shots in the first half. Spurs only having the 4 shots, but the XG was fairly similar, 0.82 to 0.59.
Yeah, and then that was the end of the first half. Second half comes, and you're thinking, like, Leeds are probably going to start fast and really put it on us because it's only 1-0 and they desperately need the win to stay up. But again, right at the beginning of the second half, Spurs get that goal. Harry Kane, I mean, what skill he was showing. He hits it over his man, beats a few men, and lovely skill, finds Pedro Porro, and Pedro Porro, man, just smashes it home with his right foot, right inside the netting, inside the post on the far corner. And what a finish that was from Pedro Porro.
Yeah, really clinical. He gets to that position, and you're thinking, because that's like a really tough position to score from, even for like a right wing back, and you're thinking, does it have it in him to find that corner? And he made it look easy, to be honest, with that finish. It was like an arrow right into the side netting. And I don't know why we're surprised, because he's been showing some really good finishing ever since he's come to Tottenham, to be honest. And that was just another example of it. And that after that goal, I think, yes, Leeds rallied a bit and they did get a goal back, but they never really believed, I felt, they were going to win that game after they scored. I think there was a bit of defeatist attitude. They did make some changes before they got the goal, and then Harrison to score, and you're thinking, could the momentum swing in their favour? But very quickly after they scored the 2-1, we made it 3-1, and that was the real killer. And after that, Leeds were definitely dead.
Yeah, I mean, they did put it on us a bit, didn't we? After we did score the second goal, they were, the momentum was growing. And I thought that goal that we conceded was a bit poor. I mean, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Rodrigo that beat Sanchez in the air quite easily. Sanchez heads it on to Ruta, and Ruta gets the ball out to Harrison. And I felt Davis and potentially Bissouma as well could have got a lot closer to Jack Harrison.
Yeah, I felt like it was I'm not lazy, but there wasn't that aggression to block the shot. It was quite easy for Harrison to just shift and shoot. Maybe it was one of those moments where we let our guard down, but after that goal, Leeds, they were maybe a bit naively, they were just pouring players forward. You could
we
see
scored
that.
2 minutes after they scored.
But you could see the way we scored. I think it was 4-on-2. Like, it was an easy interception by Sarr.
Yeah.
He heads it into the path of Porro, and he just has acres of space. He's got the whole half to run into. He's got Son, he's got Kane in support, he's got another player running with him as well. So he had the pick of the options, and thankfully he timed the pass to perfection. It was an easy pass, to be honest, but he still had to make the right choice. And having seen the first half how Kulusevski and Kane were screwing up similar opportunities, it's easier said than done, but he did it. Yeah,
really nice dinked finish from Harry Kane. And then after that, I mean, Leeds were out of the game, weren't they? They knew they were down. They knew they had finished, and it played out like that. And then the magic moment right at the end, Lucas Moura comes on to say his farewell to the fans. And the last couple of times he's come on in the last minute have not been great, especially away from home. Goodison Park and Anfield spring to mind, but this time was completely different. He picks up the ball, beats 3 or 4 men, one-on-one with the keeper, and smashes it home. And what a great way to say goodbye to the Spurs fans.
Yeah, and if there was ever a goal to represent like the heavy legs of when you're losing and how it's a lot harder psychologically to keep those physical when you're getting tired physically, to keep that away in the back of your mind. You saw that goal when he's just running past his Leeds players. They're throwing lazy legs. They can't get near him. He's just shoving them off very, very easily.
So nimble on his feet as well.
Yeah, he was really quick. But the Leeds, you can see the Leeds players, they were just on their feet. They believed they were going down.
They knew they were going down. And, it was the 95th minute, to be fair.
And you could see with that goal, the lack of belief was not there. There was no aggression to how Leeds were trying to take him down. And it would look, at the end of the day, Lucas still had to run the length of the pitch and still had to have the composure at the end to finish. And it was a brilliant goal. But I think you've got to say, like, at that point, Leeds were just on their feet and they were just waiting for the final whistle.
Yeah, and they go down. Spurs don't get Europe, finishing 8th in the league, which is quite disappointing. But I think we can take the positives from that and see, maybe one game a week. We saw last time Spurs had one game a week how it, really helped us. You saw as well Arsenal when they had one game a week this year. I know it fell apart at the end, but they saw the benefits of that throughout the whole season. So it could be a good thing.
Yeah, I think so. I think you just got to take it as a good thing and try and make the most of that time, because I think it's very difficult when you're in Europa League playing Saturday, Thursday, Sunday. The time you get on the training pitch, especially from the Thursday to Sunday period, is very limited. And it's very hard, especially for new managers, to get their ideas across in a very quick way. So I do hope that the fact that we're not in Europe now, we have those 3 midweeks more often than not now. New managers should be able to make use of that time and get players up to speed as quick as possible. And I think it's happened before. You've seen the benefits of playing one game a week. And hopefully Spurs next season, maybe the fact that we do have those weeks maybe can accelerate any new project that's coming. And I think if we were in Europe, maybe you'd have to say, like, look, it's going to take more time. But now that we have those 3 weeks, I'm not saying like we're going to be title challenging or something, but maybe that process can be accelerated a bit.
Yeah. In terms of individual displays, let's get a few heat maps on. Let's look at Dejan Kulusevski first, because I was pretty disappointed with Kulusevski. I thought, especially in the first half, there was a lot of opportunities for Kulusevski to play Sonny in, but the ball was just way too weak every single time. With the comments he made after his game, do you think now that's been playing on his mind the past few weeks? Because we haven't seen the Decky of last season for a while now.
Yeah, it couldn't have helped. I think clearly when Kulusevski has sharp mind and he's on his game, he's so confident, he's so clinical in that final third. He's always picking the right option. He's always doing it with quality as well. The right way of pass. We saw that time and time again, and we've seen it times this season. But of late, 100%, he's definitely been off his game. I don't think he would deny that as well. And maybe the uncertainty about his future, which has kind of come from nowhere, but it has come, let's be honest.
It's been in the press, hasn't it, for the past couple of weeks, and we've kind of not read anything into it. Ali Gold has been saying he will be a Spurs player player, blah, blah, blah. But when you hear comments like that, especially when you heard comments from him a few months ago when he seemed certain he'll still be a Spurs player.
Yeah, that's why it's come from nowhere. Like, why is all of a sudden there's all these doubts about his future? Like, if you ask any Spurs fan a couple of weeks ago, then no one even questioned it. But all of a sudden there's now doubts whether he's actually going to sign. Some sources in Italy are saying he's going to go back to Juventus. Now he's saying himself he doesn't know if he's going to be here next season for sure, and he's kind of saying we'll leave it up to the club. And it just gives this air of like, why are we not 100% certain he's going to be our player? Why? We should have activated it early. That's what we should have done. We should have activated the clause before the season ends, just to show him we're certain about you. You're going to be our player. There's no doubt about it. Maybe the fact that we've kind of let this rumble on for some reason until the end of the season, maybe that's been playing on his mind. Why have they not activated it early and stuff like that?
Well, maybe it was a case because wasn't it in his contract this season, if we would have got top 4, then it would have become an obligation. From my understanding, that's what the case was.
I also read if he played over 50% of games, so maybe that's not the case, because I'm pretty sure he has played over 50%.
I don't think so. He's been injured for a lot of this season. You got to remember that. How many games has he played in the Premier League this season? I don't know how many that is, but what I'm saying is that maybe when he made those comments, Kulusevski, he thought maybe on top of his mind that Spurs were getting top 4. We were in the top 4 at the time, potentially. So maybe that's what his thinking was.
Starts. He's made 23 starts. That's over 50%.
Right. Yeah.
So maybe that was wrongly reported. Then maybe that's not part of the clause. I'm not 100%. Or maybe it's overall the whole season, all competitions, and maybe he hasn't played over 50% all competitions. And maybe that makes sense. But hopefully we get this sorted. Are we hypocritical to say we hope we get it sorted before we have a new manager come in, but we can't? We won't be happy if any other new signings come in before a new manager?
No, I don't think so, because he's been part of the squad now since January last season. It feels like he's a Tottenham player, and it's like I want Kulusevski, no matter who the manager is. Like, he is a quality player. He's got good age. Physically, he's brilliant. Yes, he's had a poor season this year. No getting away from that. But quality will shine through under a better system from him. I'm certain of it.
Yeah, I agree.
But let's move on. Let's talk about Pedro Porro now. I thought Porro was absolutely brilliant. You see that heat map up and down all day long. And he's such, when he's in this mood, he is such a hard, tricky player to deal with. He's got such quality in the final third, doesn't he? Crossing ability, finishing ability, and defensively he was all right today. No defensive flaws really.
Yeah, 2 out of 2 ground duels, 1. I mean, didn't win any of his aerial duels, but made 2 tackles as well. He was definitely not caught out. Wasn't a liability defensively like he has done maybe in other games. And interesting enough as well, if you look at the overall player average position, you can see it was almost like we were playing like a 2-4-4 in a way throughout the game. And you can see Porro is quite high up the pitch there on the right-hand side, pretty level with Kulusevski. And it just shows the freedom he gets to get forward and make those final third contributions. And you can see when he gets in the final third, especially in the box, he can be clinical. And that is something definitely we've been missing. Like, how many times has we've seen Emerson and Doherty in similar positions and just not look anywhere near as competent as Porro has. And I think he's blown them out of the water in terms of what he's able to do in the final third and what he's able to do going forward. He still has a lot to learn when it comes to maybe his overall game, maybe in possession and maybe not losing the ball so often, and maybe still defensively as well, making sure that he's more aggressive and he's not that liability. And he's stronger, so he's not bullied as much. But clearly, one element of his game that is top notch is that ability in that final third to make a difference.
Supreme ability.
I can't think of too many other players right now. You got from right back, you got like Trent, obviously, who's another level. But how many other right backs can you see who are as good in the final third as what Porro's been showing right now in the Premier League? It's very hard to think of.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there. And also, like, when you cast your mind back to January, like, we were pining for Porro literally the whole of the window. We're like, get Porro. He's the answer. He's the answer. We finally got him, and then he puts in that performance at Leicester, and everyone's like, oh, have we signed a dud here? Like, after like literally twerking for him the whole month, and we're like, oh, we signed a dud here. And it took him a while to get into groove and get into grips with things at Tottenham, but I think we've got a gem here. I really do.
Yeah, I think, things, I don't know, like how it would have turned out, but let's say we signed him in the summer, maybe things could have been very different for him, and maybe even our season if like we would have had someone with that kind of ability in going forward from in a wing back position.
In a Conte system.
Exactly, because the first 6 months, there were pretty much no output from wing back, apart from a few set pieces from Perisic, but he's clearly over a whole season. Look, he's already got 3 goals and 3 assists in 9 starts in the Premier League. I'd love to see what he can do over a whole season.
Yeah, I can't wait, and I really hope whoever is next year that comes in really does utilise him in the best way. Let's talk about Harry Kane now. Another astonishing display from him. 30 goals in the Premier League this season, which equals his best tally of the Premier League era. And just look at that map, just everywhere.
He's literally all over the shop. And actually, he wasn't even that much in the penalty area, but that's where his 2 goals came from.
Yeah.
Didn't need many touches, but
a clinical beast,
exactly.
Harry Kane.
But look, he's literally picking up the ball in his own half. He's picking up the ball in that deep, like number 10 kind of role as well. I thought it was a supremely dominant display from Harry Kane throughout the pitch. He's so strong, so when he drops into midfield, he's stronger than the midfield players, and they can't get the ball off him. And he's shoving them to the side, and he's putting through balls in, and he obviously got the through ball for Porro's goal as well. And it was, but then as well, when he's asked to be that striker, he knows that role night and day, and he can as well take very quick finishes, find the corners, be very, very clinical. And 3 shots on target. It was only 1 key pass, but I'm sure that was for the goal as well. He had 59 touches, but you can just see how involved he was throughout the whole game with all these touches, and he was a joy to behold. And I think maybe in the first half of the season, a lot of the time he was spending it maybe too far up front, wasn't dropping deep enough. And maybe you can't complain. He's got 30 goals this season. He's been unbelievable. But I guess if he does stay, the new manager's the new manager has got to work out, do we play him with another striker? How do we best use Harry Kane? Because he's just got so much ability, he can play any role. And maybe his future, as Southgate says, is as a number 10.
That's what I've been saying. I've been saying that all season.
And he can be a goal-scoring number 10. And maybe that's him battling out midfielders where he knows he'll probably have the physical advantage, whereas with centre-backs, maybe not. Maybe that's the best way for him, where he can play in those holes and make late runs into the box. It's going to be very interesting, but whether that's his last game in the Spurs shirt, I shudder to think.
If that is his last game in the Spurs shirt, it's going to put us back 2, 3, 4 years without Harry Kane.
It'll be like when we sold Bale or when we sold
literally.
Keane and Berbatov.
Like, we need a big rebuild at the best of times, right? Like, we need to literally sell copious amounts of players and buy copious amounts of players. But if Harry Kane does leave, I fear for us for the next 2, 3 years, no matter who the manager is.
Yeah, that's the worry. 100%, because he's such a void to fill. You can't replace him. So it's just about how you move on from him, and that's going to be the hardest thing, because every new striker is going to come in, he can get 15 Premier League goals, and we'll be like, well, he's now Harry Kane, so is he, he'll never compare, he'll never live up to that. It's going to be difficult.
You almost need like a top quality number 10 and a top quality number 9 to replace him. That's what you need.
Literally. And whether we can attract that without European football, it's going to be difficult.
Do you think, let's say James Maddison and Richarlison can fill that void together?
I don't know.
I
would say no. Oh, from what Richarlison, look, to me, I have to say, as much as I rate Richarlison as a player, he's got to show so much more if he's going to prove to me he can do anything near filling any sort of void, let alone for Kane, for anyone.
But the thing is with Richarlison, right, his touch is so awful. And I don't get it. £60 million player, I didn't really associate him as... I didn't think his touch was great before he came here, but I didn't think it was this bad from what he's showing. And if you're going to play week in, week out as a number 9 for Spurs, maybe just stick him in the box, a fox in the box, and that's the way to get the best out of him.
Yeah, and that's maybe how Everton got the best out of him. Used him as that kind of nuisance, someone who's always going to be like a flea in your ear the whole game. He's never going to give you a moment's rest. Maybe that's the best way to use him. But he's got to work on. But I'm not even talking about being an elite player. I'm talking about basic things: passing, a through ball, his touch. It's just been horrendous. It's no getting around it. It's been horrendous. And if he's gonna have a future next season and be a big player for us, those things have got to be tightened up 100%. You see Kane, his first touch is always perfect. His passing through ball, it's always perfect. I'm not saying he needs to be Harry Kane.
But who can do that?
But Like, how can you be a 60 million pound player? You start for Brazil, and like your touch is like of a championship player. I mean, that's not good enough.
No, it's not good enough. And for me, if he has another carbon copy next season like he did this season, I think we need to cut our losses and find someone else, because we can't go through this for 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons like we have with many other players before. So if he does have another season like he has this season, I'm willing to give him that one more season. But if he does this again next season, then I'm willing just to cut my losses on him, to be honest. Anyone else you want to cover?
Maybe Bissouma. He obviously had a decent end to the season as well. He had another solid display against Leeds. 62 touches, 1 dribble attempt, 4 out of 7 ground duels won as well. Made 3 tackles, 3 interceptions, 3 clearances. This is definitely more like the Bissouma of old. Definitely the Bissouma Brighton, more aggressive, definitely making more defensive contributions. And look, it wasn't his most amazing display on the ball. He definitely had better, but I definitely think the end of the season has definitely been positive for Bissouma, and hopefully he can take that momentum into next season.
Yeah, I completely agree. And we've seen behind the works, Bentancur's back on the field doing some running. I think it will be a long time till we see him back still. But I'm so excited to see that duo in the midfield together, Bissouma and Bentancur, because I think they can absolutely flourish together. But no, I completely agree. And I think it's no coincidence that you've seen the best Bissouma in a Spurs shirt after Conte, because I think Conte had the shackles on him. He didn't seem to agree with the way Conte plays.
Well, you can see with Højbjerg and Bentancur, like they're good. They were good for how Conte wanted them, but they were very like rigid. But they like that. They like that rigidity. I don't know if that's the word.
We'll go for it.
But we'll go for it. I think they like, that's how Højbjerg and Bentancur kind of thrived a bit. Bissouma's a bit more of like a expressive player, and I think Conte kind of tried to make him a bit more like Højbjerg and Bissouma in that way. But maybe he just needs a bit more freedom. Maybe that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, I think so. But I think that brings an end to our match review. Last game of the season, 4-1 against Leeds United at Ellen Road. Thank you everyone for watching us throughout the season. That is your final match review of the season. Much welcome end to the season. We'll see you all very soon. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.